We are live in the hive. I'm back in DC, back in my office, aka my school. I'm still sick. So the past week I had spent in London. I was there covering the Tommy Robinson trial, and I stayed a little bit to also check out the city, check out London, the city of London. And the week before that, I was in Israel visiting my siblings who lived there. Thank you. Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Jorge. Hello. Thank you for the warm thoughts. I think I'm feeling a little better than yesterday, but still kind of under the weather with my cough. But there's always something exciting happening on Twitter, so we're all good. People are excited about Alabama abortion law. People are upset about it. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this law because a lot of conservatives are saying that maybe the law, which bans all abortions and considers it a felony punishable by 10 to 100 years of jail time, might be too extreme. But other conservatives are saying, well, murder is murder. Why would you treat this any different than any other murder? Right? So there's a lot of debate surrounding this, even within conservatives. And Tomi Lahren came out and said, and I quote, "I will be attacked by fellow conservatives for saying this, but so be it. This Alabama abortion ban is too restrictive. It doesn't save life, it simply forces women into more dangerous methods. Other states or countries, you don't encourage life via blanket government mandate." So people are shocked, like, oh no, why did Tomi Lahren say this? How could it be? How could Tomi Lahren say something like this? First of all, Tomi Lahren said this before, and she was fired for saying this. She was fired from The Blaze 2 years ago for saying on The View, I think, for just commenting that she thinks that just the same way she feels like she doesn't want the government to intervene in her in marriage, personal lives, too much regulation, stuff like that. She also doesn't want the government to intervene with abortions. Even though she might not support getting an abortion, she doesn't think the government should tell people if they should or shouldn't. So that was Tomi Lahren's position for years, and we all knew about it, and she was fired for it, and it was all over the news, and everybody knew about it. And then now that she's saying it again, everyone's acting shocked. Oh no, how could Tomi? I have to agree, everyone is acting shocked, both on the conservative side and the Democrat side and the liberals. Liberals are like, ew, now I have to agree with Tomi Lahren. Ew, what a like, how low have I stooped to agree with Tomi Lahren? Because liberals are, of course, the very, 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 very morally self-righteous ones, and anyone who is not them is just down in the dumps. Disgusting. So immoral. It's like, oh no, I have to agree with Hitler on something. That's disgusting. So that's the reaction the left is having to Tomi Lahren's comment. And the right, not everyone, but a lot of people are angry at Tomi Lahren for what she said. And how could you say this? Well, everybody knew that she thinks this way. She said this for years, and this isn't something new. So don't be shocked. Don't be shocked at Tomi Lahren. And actually, I have a lot of respect for Tomi, and I did when 2 years ago when she came out, against government intervention, whatever. Not because I support it or I don't support it. To be honest, like, anyway, not because I support it or don't support it, because abortion is such a polarized issue in the United States that if you say anything that might be even a tiny bit to the right or left of the mainstream conservative or mainstream liberal idea on abortion, then you're just banned from that party. You're just banned. You're excommunicated, and everyone will shame you and scream shame, 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 shame. Um, that's what happened with Tomi, and I think that it's really cool that she kind of just said her thing and she didn't back down. She didn't apologize. She said that I actually really like the way she doesn't apologize. She's not like, oh no, sorry, I apologize for saying. No, she said, I believe this before, and I know you guys are gonna get upset, and I believe this now. And the truth is that I think people are being a little bit extreme, just because on the left, you don't have to be for all abortions. You don't have to support infants being murdered. You don't have to support the killing of partially born infants in order to be pro freedom or whatever, which, ironically, abortion is the only freedom that people are believing in. But you don't have to be pro late term abortions and murdering. It is really murder if you think about it. I mean, it's not even murder in the abortion is murder sense. It's murder in the, killing live babies is murder sense. So don't kill live babies. I don't think that's too extreme to ask from the liberal party. And I know that a lot of liberals don't believe that that should be allowed, but they will go along with it because they don't want to be banned or excommunicated from their party. And then on the other side, conservatives, a lot of conservatives, like myself, maybe think that people aren't alive when they don't have a heartbeat. If a child does not have a heartbeat yet, did not grow a heart, did not develop a heartbeat, then the child is not alive. It's not like you're murdering anybody. So until a heartbeat is there, which is usually around 6 weeks after conception, it's not murder. You're not killing a person. Just like if a person is dead and doesn't have their heartbeat, they're pronounced dead. After 3 minutes of not having a heartbeat, they're pronounced dead. And you can do whatever you want. It's not murder. So that's not a very controversial take, I think. It's but if you have that idea on the conservative side, you're just like, oh no, how could you allow abortions? How could you allow murder? And so there's really no middle ground. You can't be anything in the middle. You have to either be against all abortions or you have to be for all abortions. You can't be oh, maybe not late term or partial birth killing infants. Maybe not that. Or maybe it's fine to, you know, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's not murder to abort a non-living child who is not alive. So it's not even a child yet because it's not even alive, okay? So maybe it's okay to like and you know what? Like you could think you could disagree with me and that's fine, but you should be able to have these disagreements without being excommunicated from your party. Tomi Lahren was willing to say, and by the way, she's saying like government intervention. Actually, I don't know if I don't agree with her at all, actually, because government intervention is like, it doesn't have anything to do with, like murder or whatever. But actually, I still like, I'm conflicted in a lot of ways. But yeah, so I actually really, really, really respect Tomi Lahren, not for what her views are. I respect you no matter what your views are, just because people's experiences are different. But the reason why I respect her is because she's willing to go against the status quo, and she's willing, like the left hates her, and she's willing to disagree on something that she believes in with conservatives, even though she will be excommunicated potentially for doing that, for saying it. So good for her. And but at the same time, like, and here's another thing. People are like, oh no, how could they ban abortion in the case of rape and incest? Oh, that's too extreme. That's disgusting. Like it's we want to ban abortion, but we don't want to ban abortion in the case of rape and incest because that's too that's too like harsh. How could you do that? And I think that's a really, really dumb take because if you believe abortion is murder, then you believe abortion is murder, and it coming about because somebody was raped or somebody was drunk or somebody like performed incest, that doesn't change the fact that it's murder, unless you don't believe it's murder and you are just a political hack. So anyway, yeah, if you believe abortion is murder, then rape or incest or whatever is not going to change that it's murder. So, oh, something bad happened to you? Poor you, but abortion is murder, right? That should be the if abortion is murder, then if abortion is murder, then like rape or incest happening isn't going to change the fact that abortion is murder. It's not going to suddenly make the child not a child anymore. Like, have you ever seen anyone be like, oh, like this is a mistake child, so I'm just going to like get rid of him or her? This child was a mistake. It wasn't on purpose. We didn't plan to have this kid, so we're going to get rid of this kid. No, you don't see people saying that, or if they do, they're just psychopaths. Okay. So, sorry. And you know what? Jonathan and Raymond both have very, very important points. Raymond says, freedom is freedom. There is no in between. I don't need an abortion or a gun, and I don't begrudge those who do. Jonathan says, I say pull government money from it. You want an abortion, you pay for it out of your own pocket, solves a lot of our problems. Actually, you know what? I agree. Like, it doesn't have to be like one extreme or the other. What if we just take the government out of it? Like, let people deal with their own children. Let people deal with their own, you know what I mean? And don't make us pay for people's abortions. If a lot of people are religious and won't or don't support any abortion, and then a lot of people just don't support abortion in general because after 6 weeks abortion. So maybe just don't force people to pay for it. Don't use taxpayer money to pay for abortions, but then just let people do what they want in their homes. And another thing, Tomi Lahren brings up a great point that um, if people can't get abortions in the U.S., they're going to go to other places, other countries. They're going to go on the black market or whatever, trying to find solutions, and that's potentially more dangerous. So that's another take. That's what people say about drugs also. Like, if you don't legalize marijuana or other forms of drugs, then people are going to go and try to get it off the black market. It won't be regulated. It won't be approved by the U.S. It won't be FDA approved. I'm definitely confusing them. But anyway, it won't be approved for consumption. And people will just take all sorts of things in because they can't get it legally, so they have to find it in a different way. May Elmis says, why can't abortion be a popular vote in the state? I'm not sure on the legal instance if they don't. That's actually a good point too. Why can't individual states decide? Alabama tends to be a more conservative-leaning state, so let them decide they want abortion in their state. California tends to be a more left-leaning state. Let them decide they want abortions. So it's good, right? Because people can vote on what they want in their state and get what they want instead of the federal government deciding for everybody. And that's not healthy. So why can't states make their own laws? So first of all, nobody should have to pay for abortion with their taxpayer money. They don't support it. And second, states should be able to decide their own laws concerning abortion. It shouldn't be the federal government having to decide it. So, and then also just all these inconsistencies, like abortion is murder, but it's suddenly not murder if it's rape or incest. So you don't actually believe that abortion is murder. So congratulations on anyone who thinks that. Mike Carter says, do you think there should be an incentive for the extremely poor to not have children? Maybe a small subsidy would still be cheaper than funding abortions and welfare of children. I don't know. I don't like the idea of trying to limit really poor people from having kids. First of all, if you're really poor and you can't afford to have children, then it's really not hard to not have children. It's like you kind of bring it on yourself. I personally don't get it. I'm a girl, I get it, I get the whole struggle, and I'm not like a guy who's like, oh, well, why can't you, blah, blah, blah. I get it, and I get the struggle, but I still don't get how you could not control it. Oh no, but I got drunk and I wasn't paying attention, and then we did it and just happened. Well, that's your fault, and that's something you have to deal with because that's your irresponsibility. I don't get how you could just like become pregnant by accident. And especially if you're really poor, you have to be extra careful. And you can't afford a pill or a condom. It's so cheap to buy a condom. Like, you can't afford to, uh, you know, okay, you're so poor that you can't afford a pill, you can't afford a condom, you can't afford like anything. How about this? Pull out. Or you're so poor and you're so disabled that you can't pull out, and you're so like, I don't even know, like there's really no excuse. Just don't have sex. Don't have recreational sex if you don't want to have children. And I don't think that should be so difficult, especially if you're a woman. Okay, guys are like, guys are walking around like, I'm sorry, like, guys are hunters, right? So they're like walking around trying to have sex with everybody. If you're a girl, then you should like be able to control who comes. Like, I mean, who's like, it shouldn't be so hard. And if it happens, it shouldn't take so long for you to figure out that you're pregnant. Like, that doesn't have anything to do with rich or poor. That has to do with you're a freaking idiot and you're like so irresponsible and lazy that you can't even control like the basics of not getting pregnant. Like, you could do the morning after pill. And then if you're so irresponsible that you like, you know, whatever, you could, there is a lot you could do. It's very easy to not get pregnant. People try very hard to get pregnant. Pardes 2020, pull out. Yes, pull out. It's not hard to not get pregnant. People just don't just, like, I was watching this TV series when I was a little younger. It's called The Secret Life of the American Teenager. And it's like this whole story about this teenager like getting pregnant by accident, and whoops, we didn't even do anything. It wasn't even like real. It just like, it barely even, like, he barely even touched me. He was just like, we were about to, but we didn't actually. But then, whoops, I got pregnant. What should I do? Oh no, now I'm pregnant and I'm gonna have a baby. Oh, this is so hard. Like, that doesn't happen. People don't just get pregnant by touching. It's not like, it's not hard. Like, you should, if you think you're going to get pregnant, it's really, it's very easy to not get pregnant. I don't know how else to emphasize this. Stop pulling apart everything I say and making it sexual. Whoops, I made it sexual myself. Okay, so I just really don't get people who act like this is a poor versus rich issue. If you can't deal with having a bunch of children, then you should not have a bunch of children. And whatever the consequences are, you should deal with it yourself, because you're lazy and the whole country should not have to pay for your being irresponsible and lazy. It doesn't have to do with being poor. There's so many ways to, like, in the olden days they used to do, and not even so long ago actually, not olden days, but there used to be a form of, there's so many forms of birth control. It's crazy, like the amount. Uh, you know, there's a form of birth control where you just stick copper in your vagina. It's just copper, and that's it. And that's it. Like, you just don't get pregnant ever until you take it out, just like a piece of copper. There's so many things. There's so many things you could do. There used to be this thing. People don't really do it anymore, but because there are more normal ways to do it. But there used to be a form of birth control that was popular, where women would douche Coca-Cola. So douching is when you like take, it's like a douche bag. People use it as an insult, but a douche bag is a real thing. It's like a bag where you squeeze it and a bunch of water comes out, and you basically just like squeeze a bunch of water into your I don't know if I should say the V word. Um Anyway, you just squeeze a bunch of water into your vagina, and a bunch of whatever it is that you're trying to get inside there. So in this case, they douche Coca-Cola, and it actually works. All you have to do is douche Coca-Cola, and uh, it just kills everything in there. It kills your baby or whatever was about to grow in there. Uh, I don't know. There's so many like toxic substances, and that's not even so toxic. There's so many toxic substances you could just like stick up there, and you won't get pregnant. Oh, Denise says, yeah, my mom had one hanging in the bathtub when we were young. So you actually saw a real douchebag in your bathroom when you were a kid. I am sorry for you. Joe Anderson says, tell them to use a coat hanger. There are so many things. Mike Carter says the majority of abortions are committed by people who get pregnant often and are very poor. Maybe you're very poor because you're lazy, and you're the type of person who will get pregnant without paying attention. Like, having recreational sex is not a necessity. Like, I get that you want to, but you're not going to die if you don't have it. It's not like, oh, poor hungry people, they didn't have recreational sex. People go without sex for years, for decades. There are people who never had sex in their lives. And I'm not saying like that's great, but being poor doesn't mean that you are like, you have to have you have to have recreational sex, and you have to have it in a way that allows you uh, to get pregnant and then abort your child. Like, it just doesn't make sense, and it's just people wanting to stop poor people from having kids. You know what? Don't like limit the welfare programs. There's too many there's too much of an incentive for people to these welfare programs are really harmful. They incentivize people from not working and for having a lot. People are incentivized to have a lot of kids. It's not, if you're poor, there is an incentive to have a lot of kids. And this is from liberal policies, from social welfare policies. There's an incentive to have a lot of kids, because for every kid that you have, you get tax breaks, you get wealth, you get more money from the government. You're incentivized to have a lot of kids, and you're also incentivized to not have a dad in the picture. So you're incentivized to have a lot of kids out of wedlock. And that's what's causing all these poor people to have kids. It's not that they're not having abortions. It's really easy to not have kids. It's hard to have. Some people spend their entire lives trying to get pregnant and they can't, and a ton of money. It's hard to have kids. It's not hard to not have kids and not get pregnant. People who get pregnant are either who get pregnant and then change their mind. Like, catch it early on. If you get your month, you get your period every single month. If you miss a month, pay attention. Like there are a lot of clues that would indicate that you might be pregnant early on. At the very least, um, at the very least, you didn't get your period. Ishmam Faisal says, seems like an oversimplification. I don't know. I think maybe I might be culturally not on the same page as a lot of other men and women of my generation. I think people like I talk to people all the time who are like, yeah, we got pregnant by accident. Like, I don't get it. How do you get pregnant by accident? So, the condom broke or it slipped or whatever. Mistakes happen. But you realize when that happens. It's not like it happens and then, you didn't realize it and whatever. And then if you wake up and you realize you had sex while you were drunk, so go and go take a pregnancy test. Like, do something about it. Don't just, it shouldn't be normal to not be on top of these things. And if you are not on top of these things, then you have to deal with the consequences. And we shouldn't be paying for your mistakes. Go and have an abortion or whatever. We shouldn't go and have an abortion. Go have as many kids as you want. Have as many kids as you want. Don't have as many kids as you want. Do whatever you want. Don't make me have to pay for it. It's dumb. And poor people having a ton of kids, there is an incentive to have a lot of kids in the US. There shouldn't be that incentive. If you want to have a lot of kids, pay for it. Dolomike says people who are on welfare get more funding in cash aid and food stamps when they have more kids. Exactly. Why should you get a job? If you get a job, you won't get unemployment, you won't get all this assistance, and you are working like a dog to make ends meet. Why would you want to have a job? It's not worth it. So the government is actually making people have more kids. And people maybe don't realize this. People are saying, oh, it's because there aren't enough abortion services available. Very easy to abort your child in a lot of different ways. Very easy to not become pregnant. Poor people aren't having a lot of kids because abortion or birth control wasn't available to them. Yeah, so anyway, there's a lot of inconsistencies here. Jim Kirk says, welfare checks. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to say something really quickly. I was in an Uber today. First of all, I really enjoy these live streams, like, a lot. And I look forward to them. I get excited about them. I get excited about the number of subscribers to my channel just growing increasingly every day. It's like my favorite thing ever. And I get excited to see you guys in my chat and communicate. And I get excited about doing more. And I've been getting a lot of encouragement from you guys, but also a lot of discouragement from people around me in my physical life. Not my close friends, but just people around. Oh, what are you doing? This isn't gonna. Why are you wasting your time on this? Why this is awful. Such bad quality. Why are you doing this live stream and getting all your personal information out there and your personal feelings? Why does anyone care what you think? Why should anyone know about your personal thoughts and feelings? That's not good. People shouldn't know your personal stuff. Uh, why are you, go and focus on your day job. Why are you doing this? And it's like, because I feel like it and I enjoy it. And so, don't listen to the negative people. Okay, I agree with that, but sometimes it gets to you. Sometimes like the constant negative energy, you're never going to be successful. You're never going to get to this thing that you want. You're never going to look at you. What are you doing? You're 25 and you're just doing all this monkeying around and whatever. So it kind of gets to you, but when I see you guys here, I know that it doesn't matter what they say because they're not here and they're not watching and they're just dumb. Also, today I was in an Uber and this guy was like, he was like the Uber driver was really encouraging. He's like, yeah, like don't listen to anything people say. You're on the right track, and this isn't like a stupid little thing that YouTube like for children. It's something that actually grows and becomes something. It becomes something real and valuable, communicating with people. So thank you to my Uber driver today. It actually really turned my week around, made me feel so much better about doing this stuff. And the videos. And by the way, I'm really excited to announce that I'm moving to a new place that is way cheaper than the place I'm in now. So I'll get to save a lot of money. But the most important thing about this new place is that there's a full studio. I'm sharing it with other people that other YouTubers that are real YouTubers, not like me, not these little live streams, but like real YouTubers with a real studio, and I will get to use that studio every night. And instead of doing this in my school in my little green room, I'll get to do it in a live, like a real studio, and I'm very, very excited about that. So Joe Anderson says, tell them 869 people think they should suck it. I agree, and I like that it's 69. Yeah. You call that tweet says, do you like Northern Virginia any more or less than the rest of the DC area? I actually love Northern Virginia. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's not crazy like DC, and it's also very expensive. It is very expensive to live in Virginia. People think that it's not. It won't be expensive because living in DC is more central, but Northern Virginia actually happens to be like the most expensive area in the United States. Fun fact. there are some of the most expensive homes in Northern Virginia, and DC is gentrifying, but it's still not 100% there yet. It's still not really safe. There's just constant, like where I live right now, my street, I don't get sleep at nights because constant sirens, constant protests, constant people screaming at night. It's like it's an affluent neighborhood. Constant just like craziness. It's not 100% safe yet, and a lot of homeless people on the streets. Northern Virginia is not really like that. Joe Anderson says, really more so than LA or New York. Well, I don't know how they came up with that statistic or whatever. I think maybe just Northern Virginia collectively, because LA has and New York has very expensive parts, but those are like just parts of LA and New York. And then they also have very cheap parts too. Very cheap and very dangerous parts. Like LA, there are neighborhoods in LA that you don't want to even. I mean, it's like this around in DC too. Actually, there are neighborhoods that you don't even want to like step into because there's a big chance that you'll get shot. Really, it's like being in a war zone. It's like being in Afghanistan or whatever. Okay. What else are people saying about Tomi Lahren tweet? It's not shocking. I support Tomi Lahren. Not because of her opinions, but because, I mean, maybe, but in general, just because she is willing to challenge the status quo. It's too polarized. This debate is too polarized, just like a whole bunch of other debates. The gun debate. Why should all guns be unregulated, and why should all guns be restricted? And like, we should all be able to arm ourselves, but also, background checks would be nice. Stephen Pickering says, there are blonde hair, blue-eyed filter and Snap. There is actually a blonde hair, blue-eyed filter. And there's also a red hair filter, which I use, and it actually really looks like I have red hair. Like people looked at it, and it might be somewhere on Instagram, so I'll show you guys. Let me see where it is. Excuse me. Can't find it. This is sad. There is a picture out there of me in red hair, and it looks very real. Oh, and there's also me having pink hair. It doesn't look that real. Anyway, I'll show you guys later. But yeah, I can't find it. I can't find it. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, some of these snap filters are really great. Blonde hair on me, it kind of looks okay. It looks like I don't like it. I don't like myself in blonde hair. It just looks weird and fake. Tom Kaczynski says we need background checks for guns, abortion, and voting. Yes, and yeah, I agree. So I used to live in LA. LA has its great parts, but mostly, I mean, LA is great and has a lot of great parts, but it's also can get very dirty and very just um, a lot of just very poor and dangerous areas. I had friends in college, classmates in undergrad, who had family member who like lost family members just in just like in a random fight. Like, oh yeah, my brother was, having a fight with my cousin in the street, and then like one of them shot each other. Like, uh, it's really sad and tragic, but it's also like very senseless. Senseless deaths for no reason other than like, oh yeah, they were just having a fight or an argument, and like, they just shot each other or they just stabbed each other. Um Kind of crazy that it's like that in 2019 or 20, that was when I was an undergrad. So Ishbam says, "What are your thoughts for acquiring a license to have kids? Just curious." Requiring a license to have kids. Why should you need a license to have kids? Um, you should be able to you should be able to have as many kids as you want. Just be responsible for them and don't make me responsible for your kids. Um, China has this like regulation for how many kids you can have, and it's kind of weird. Ishmam says we need a license to drive. Yeah, you should have a license to have a gun also. You shouldn't too many people are polarized on these issues. Climate change is another issue that everyone's so polarized on. It's like you either believe in climate change or you don't believe in climate change. First of all, everybody believes in climate change. Everybody believes that, like things aren't the same. It changes. Like our atmosphere is constantly changing. We are actually right now part of an ice age. So at some point the entire world's going to freeze, and then we're going to be in like that movie Ice Age. So we're getting so anyways, it's fine. It's natural. It's a natural part of the earth, and the disagreement is really based on whether people think that we can control it or not, like whether or not people think it's inevitable. But the argument isn't, do you believe in climate change or do you not believe in climate change, as if climate change is some sort of god or divine religion. So that's another thing that's really polarized. And another thing that's really polarized related to that is taking care of nature and your environment. A lot of conservatives in their personal lives, I know as someone who's mostly around conservatives, really care about protecting the environment. They really care. They recycle. They really care about making sure that the world is taken care of, the earth, the trees, nature, everything. The air isn't being polluted with uh, stuff. So they really actually do care about this stuff, but because of the way our politics are so polarized, you can't say that in public. You can't say like, I support uh, protecting the environment. Um, God forbid you create an organization that supports, like that encourages people to try and recycle more. Oh no, if you're a conservative, you're suddenly, does that mean you believe in global warming and climate change? No, it means that, first of all, whatever. It means that you care about the environment. You care about the world you live in. As someone who's living in the world, you care about it, about what happens to the world. And that's a good thing. Um, so it's not like taking care of the earth that we live on. It's not like, oh, taking care of your country where it's just your country and it's your own bubble. Taking care of the earth we live in is like, it just affects everybody. It's not like uh, the climate doesn't contain itself within geographical lines. It it just it's everything. It's not going to stay within your country. It's not like, the US can control our atmosphere, and then, Mexico can control their atmosphere, and then China can control theirs, and it's just everyone's affected by each other, and one country doing something to protect their, so like it's a given. Everyone should just care about protecting the environment, but it doesn't mean that should should everyone believes in the best way to do it, and it doesn't mean that everyone believes in the government's whatever the left wing solution is for us to be part of some sort of like Paris Accord, or I don't know, something that people just don't want to be part of. It's just a waste of taxpayer money, and is not even effective or necessary. So Arquetto says, Pardes off topic, what are your thoughts on the Iran situation? So my thoughts on the Iran situation, as someone whose family is Iranian and whose family left Iran after the Islamic Revolution to escape the Islamic Republic, and so, not supportive of the current regime. But the United States is trying to like overthrow that regime, and I know this for a fact. The U.S., our intelligence community, is trying very hard to overthrow the current Iranian regime and help prop up in their place a different group of people that are, in my opinion, not helpful. I'm actually kind of scared to talk about it because I know people who are on either sides of the movement, and like I'm actually scared for my life to talk about stuff. So just forget about it. But I don't think that the way that we're handling it is healthy. Just because you don't love the Iranian government right now, it doesn't mean that the United States should try and prop up another leadership that can be equally or probably worse toxic, even more toxic. Like the Iranian regime, they're dealing with their issues. Like they were really, really, really bad after the revolution. They didn't allow people to wear colors or play music or listen to music or wear makeup. But they're getting better, and that's because of a lot of pressure from their citizens. So that's great. They're evolving, maybe very slowly. Maybe they're still awful, and their government is still a bunch of lunatics. But they're evolving, and that's good because it's healthy. Because governments evolve based on their citizens. Regime change, it's kind of like evolution. It just happens, and it doesn't have to be like propped up by another government. And that's what we're trying to do, is like we're trying to prop up a new leadership in Iran and try to topple the leadership now and prop up a new leadership. That's awful. I think that's really awful. I think it's unnecessary, And not only is it unnecessary, it's going to really hurt whatever chance the Iran had of getting back on its feet after the revolution happened. The revolution itself actually happened because of foreign intervention. By the way, the Russians were part of it too, propping up the new regime in Iran. And I think the Iranian people are smart enough that they can take care of their own shit. I really think so. As someone from an Iranian family who grew up around a lot of Iranians in a very, very Iranian neighborhood in LA, I think the Iranian people are smart people, very well educated. They care a lot about culture, and a lot of them are mostly secular. Actually, they're not like the regime. The regime is very religious, but a lot of the Iranian people in general tend to be very secular and very pro-education and colors and whatever. So they can figure it out. They'll take care of it. They don't need another country to like kick out their regime in order for them to start supporting like progressive or whatever ideas. They can figure it out, and they don't need us. Besides, the people that the United States is trying to prop up instead of the current regime are even more radical and even more radical. So the United States does not care about the well-being of these other countries, as we like to announce. It's really just about trying to put in place like a new leadership that might be an ally for us. But how do you know that this new leadership is going to still stay an ally and causing unrest in other parts of the world? Maybe we should just focus on, like, instead of sending all these troops to like all over the world and all on all these little diplomatic missions and try to like these strategic missions of why not just first focus on domestic issues, protecting our border? Why don't we have troops protecting our own border, which is really just like free for all. Anyone can come in and out. So Tom Kaczynski says, you're Iranian and Jewish. Yes, that exists. That exists. Actually, Iranian Jews have been around for thousands of years, and they've been around in like the same cities in Iran for thousands of years. They have been pretty stable in that part of the world until very recently. Sean says, my sister married to Iranian, she speaks Farsi. Q Denit says, I don't understand why the US can't focus on internal problems. It seems they don't want to deal with them. Mike Carter says, cartels linked goons are shooting at our troops. I think we should focus more on our own borders and our own national security issues. And a lot of people will say, well, our national security issues are abroad. And so like we can't focus on our own issues without going abroad and dealing with them and dealing with these like power stuff. Like, I guess, I don't know. Maybe we should, but also like I think maybe there's an imbalance in what's being prioritized here. And I don't think that it's like, I think that it's just dishonest to say that we're getting involved in these countries because we're trying to help them and we're trying to protect human rights around the world. I think it's a little dishonest to say that. Like, okay, admit that we're admit that we're trying to gain some sort of strategic leverage in these countries. Okay. All right. Thank you for being here, everybody. That was a great talk. And I'll see you tomorrow right here in my school. And definitely please subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video. Check out my description section. And let me know if there's anything actually specific that you want to see, because I've already started some trial runs of edited videos, not like this. This is my live stream, but it's real edited videos. And if there's anything specific that you want to see more of, DM me. I read everybody's DMs, by the way, even if I don't respond. I read it and I appreciate it, and I get a lot of my ideas from your DMs. So feel free to DM me and with your ideas of what you want to hear me talk about. And yeah. Landscape Guy says, check out your Venmo. It goes down in the DM. Ha. Thank you. I'm going to check my Venmo. And by the way, thank you to everyone who's been joining on Patreon and PayPal and Venmo. You have no idea how much I love you right now. And I'm not spending any of it. I'm saving it all up so I can, and I'm not just saying this, you'll see. I'm saving it up for more quality gear. So thank you so much for helping me make this happen. And I will see you all tomorrow. Okay. Thanks. Have a good night. Thank you, Landscape Guy.